Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Stefan DeVille, leading today's podcast. If you join us in the past, five guys that get together and have a discussion on some real critical topics as well as some fun topics. Unfortunately, today Chuck is not available, but he'll join us in the very near future for a future podcast. Anyway, today's podcast, we wanted to discuss historically black colleges and universities. Um, they've been around since the mid 1800s and have been a critical portion of learning or higher learning for African American students. So we wanted to have a discussion on HBCUs. Why did you attend the HBCU, and are they still relevant? And we'll go from there. So, Mike, why did you attend the HBCU?
I decided to attend a HBCU. I guess during the what was it? The college fair,
Hmm.
the college fair, something like that. And we had upperclassmen that were going to attend. So I heard it through word of mouth. The college fair, some alumni from Morgan were at the school um, talking about it, and I just decided that that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to get out of New Haven. So if I was going to go somewhere, I was going to go somewhere where there were actually people from New Haven that were down there. So if I did go somewhere, it wouldn't be like a complete stranger. I would be able to make at least a minimal contact with people. After I left New Haven.
Okay. Were you surrounded by HBCU graduates in New Haven,
No,
growing up?
no, no, not where I was from.
Okay.
Um, there were more. I think there were more people in town who were a part of the process, who had, dual household parents, and their parents, majority of their parents had attended, or at least the father or the mother had attended college or whatever. Um, but that was, I think the college fair was my way of actually, interacting with people who actually went to Morgan and who were trying to recruit for Morgan.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Charles, why did you attend the HBCU?
Well, let me tell you, I almost didn't have a choice but to attend an HBCU. I am a legacy. My father attended Florida A&M University, and matter of fact, he was there back in the '60s when I was born. I was born to very young parents. My father, at the time when I was conceived, was 19 years old. My mother was 17, and he was already matriculating at FAMU. So at one point in time, believe it or not, I was actually, as an infant, living on a portion of the campus at Florida A&M University.
Wow.
And my father was actually pledging Omega that very same year that I was born. And after he became, big time in a frat, there was a time when some of the neos would be forced to, or the pledges or the lamps, or what they used to call them back then, were forced to come over and actually change my diapers.
Damn.
So I had absolutely no, I mean, my exposure was more than your typical child. And then growing up, I was, would go back to the homecoming games with my father, with my parents. We would go to the Battle of the Bands. And it wasn't just Florida A&M University. We would go to and have different experiences throughout the country at HBCUs. So for me, again, it wasn't a choice. It was something that I was exposed to at a very early age. So when I began to get into that decision-making process about where I would attend college, it wasn't a matter of if I was going to an HBCU, it was just which one. And my father was trying to give me the hard sell to go to FAMU, so much so that he had promised to pay my entire tuition if I decided to go to FAMU. And I did not. I sort of bucked, the system. I ended up at Morgan with you guys, and my father was true to his word. He paid for my freshman year, But after that, I was cut off at my knees because I did not attend his alma mater. That's how serious he was about it. So that was my, decision-making process, and, how I ended up at a HBCU.
Right. Wow. Wow. So you definitely are a legacy baby, literally on the yard.
No doubt. Absolutely. Yep.
Wow. Wow. Hey, Wayne, why did you attend the HBCU?
Well, I think it was kind of easy for me. I grew up, and where I grew up, I attended all white schools like my whole life. And so through graduation. So when it got time for that 12th, 11th, 12th grade, and I knew I was going to that next level of college and everything, I only applied to black schools. That's it, 100% black schools. And so, funny story, there was a number of schools that I applied to, and I actually got accepted to a couple, believe that or not. But the reason I chose Morgan out of all of them was that it was actually the closest one to home. Most of the schools I was looking at were in North Carolina, Fayetteville State, Elizabeth City State, and a bunch of schools in North Carolina. But at the last minute, I got into Morgan. I think that was the last school I got into, and it just happened to be the closest to home. It just seemed a little bit easier. So that's how I ended up there. But I didn't have, not unlike Charles, I didn't have a lot of legacy. I didn't have a lot of people who went to college in my family that went to a HBCU. The people in my family that attended schools, they're like community colleges, local stuff around in the area. And I mean, I think there's a few in the family that went to 4-year schools, but they were not black schools. So the other thing that becomes apparent is that the whole fraternity sorority thing, that was all foreign to me. I knew nothing about that until I was on campus.
Interesting. Interesting. Actually Lincoln University and Cheney University are closer.
Didn't apply there.
Ah, got it. Got it. And we're happy that you didn't. It was, because now we have this bond. We're doing this podcast just based on this university right here.
Trying to tell you. Trying to tell you.
Well, I tell you what. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Cheney because that's one of the first HBCUs.
Correct.
It was established back in 1837.
That is correct.
So Wayne, you could have been at least 5 feet closer to home.
Yeah. So let me tell you something else, right? The other reason that I selected Morgan over some of the other schools is that on the description, it was an urban campus. And so to me, I thought that would be like NYU, right? That's what I thought an urban campus would look like. But all those other places you mentioned, they're in the woods, man.
Well, this is true.
Definitely the ones in Pennsylvania in the woods.
Did you visit Morgan before you?
Never.
Really?
Never.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
No, didn't have the opportunity. I just I applied for all these schools, and my first day was going to be on whichever campus accepted me. So.
Well, I tell you, my story is unique because I'm a Morgan State legacy. So I attended Morgan State in 75, 76, 77 when my mother would go back for homecomings. And so I was exposed to Morgan State University, as a young guy or a young kid. And, the majority of my family, matter of fact, all my family back in the 50s and 60s, when they were going to college, they had no other choice but to go to HBCU. There was not an opportunity to go to University of Maryland or University of Virginia. That just didn't happen. You weren't welcome there. So it was a matter of, you go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. It was an easy decision. And Morgan State was the only university I applied to. Yes, I have relatives that went to University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. Some went to St. Paul's College down in Lawrenceville, Virginia, which is now closed in 2013. But my mind was made up that Morgan State was where I wanted to go, and that was the HBCU that accepted me. Thank God they accepted me because my SAT scores weren't the best.
You said we wasn't going to talk about SAT scores on this call.
Yeah, I know, but let's call a spade a spade. Some people can test well, and some people can excel in other ways. And Morgan State let me in with poor scores, and I was successful and made it through. So, that's something that you might not experience at another predominant white institution. So, Now, Mike, do you believe that HBCUs are still relevant to this day? And where I'm going with that is, now that we're open to go to other schools, are HBCUs still relevant for the African American student or any student whatsoever?
I think that HBCUs are relevant. I think that a lot of people now with social media doing their research. I don't think too many kids are going to go to a school who is their funding is not where it needs to be. They're not going to get the resources that they're going to have. If I see a school HBCU that says that during the coronavirus they weren't technically set up for something like this, I wouldn't send my school to wouldn't send my son or daughter to a school that's not ready. And what I would say is I would actually just do the research, because a lot of things are happening in regards to funding, alumni funding, on all these different things. Those are some of the bigger issues when you verse a PWI. You know what I mean? For those people who don't know, PWI is what, Steph?
Primary white institution, I think. PWI. Yeah.
50%, primarily white. So I would say I would do the research.
Predominantly white. I'm sorry. Predominantly white institution.
Yeah. Research on that. Okay.
No, you bring up a great point. HBCUs have 1/8 of the average size of endowments than historically white colleges and universities. Because you think of like Harvard, they've got billions of dollars in endowments. I'm sure our schools just don't, but somehow we're successful. Okay. What do you think, Charles? Do you think HBCUs are still relevant?
Oh, absolutely. And, this discussion is extremely timely because my daughter is actually going through the college application process right now as we speak. And we are definitely steering her more towards an HBCU.
That's right. Your wife is an HBCU graduate, right?
Absolutely. But the decision is ultimately our daughter's to make, but we're definitely steering her in that direction. Now, I personally, even though I graduated from an HBCU, you all know my story. I was at Morgan State University. I left after my freshman year again because my father wasn't going to pay for it anymore. So I was on my own to pay my way through college. So initially, I went to a community college and picked up an associate's degree. Now, while I was doing that, I was also taking college courses at the University of Maryland, College Park, which is a predominantly white institution. And I was doing that to sort of make up for some of the credits that I was going to lose transferring to another HBCU. So I had that experience of both an HBCU and a mainstream university, so to speak. And the difference is like night and day. I mean, the quality of education is very similar in nature, but when it comes to the intimacy of the environment, just like you said, being embraced versus tolerated, those are major issues that you deal with. Every single professor that I had at an HBCU actually knew me personally. They knew my name. We had a relationship. I can sit down and talk to them. That was not the case at this predominantly white institution that I went to for a short period of time. I mean, the class sizes were ridiculous. You walk into a lecture hall, there could be 200-300 students in a lecture hall. The professor walks in, they give their lecture, and then they walk out. There's no interaction, no personal sort of relationship, and the social experience. Oh my God, just again, completely different. So I don't want to dominate the conversation, but for me, again, HBCUs are extremely relevant today. And things of that nature, even more so now than ever before.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, Charles. So, Wayne, do you still believe that HBCUs are relevant?
Absolutely. I think it's a really good opportunity for people of color to see a lot of people that look like them from around the country, and that are striving towards something. A lot of people grow up in different areas, especially in the minority communities, and what they see is not always positive. But if you get on a campus, a Morgan State University, I think when we were there, they were doing something like 5,000 undergrad, something like that. So it's just a lot of people in one space that are all furthering their education. Well, most of them. But you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is it's a good experience. So as opposed to being that one person who's trying to do something in a neighborhood, now you're seeing a lot of people who are trying to go in the right direction. Now you also saw that a lot of the instructors, kind of like what Charles said, it was definitely a different environment. I think a lot of the instructors were preparing you for the future. They were, so even though you may not have had a Black Studies class per se, every class was a Black Studies class, right? So it's kind of preparing you to be ready for what's out there. So Steph, you and I were in the business school at Morgan. So there's a lot of stuff that we learned from business law to accounting, to production management, all that craziness. And we got a little different spin on it, right? Because it was saying, this is what you got to do. This is what you can't do. This is how you can compete. So yeah, definitely relevant. I think that there's a lot of people who would do themselves a disservice not going to that environment. Even if they don't choose to stay there or graduate from there, the experience would be like night and day. Now, unlike Charles, I never had an opportunity to go to a predominantly white college, but I can imagine it's got to be a different experience. So yeah, definitely still relevant. I think it's a great first step for any student that is from the minority area, and I think they'll get a lot out of it.
Tucker, as you're talking and we're talking about our business experience, I just finished my master's in MBA at Embry-Riddle. It was online, so I never had personal interaction with the instructor beyond something that I typed. But I still remember Miss Ricks, Dr. Gatewood, Dr. Fletcher. Who was our economics instructor? Dr. Carango.
Nah, that was statistics. Carango is statistics.
No, okay. Well, but
yeah.
It's just one of those, and especially Dr. Alfred, when he would go on his rants, and those are the things that I'm sure you can't experience at a PWI because you didn't get personal with them. They didn't know you at a PWI, but at a HBCU, 30 years later, I still remember these doctors' names or the professors' names because it became personal.
Oh yeah, I really talked to them a lot. I was negotiating better grades, man. I had issues. Yeah, I talked to all my teachers.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and especially Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Gatewood. God bless America. Yo, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would say, Stefan, I know we're talking about the HBCU experience, but I don't want to necessarily suggest to the audience that the PWIs don't have something positive to offer. Right. Because they do. And again, I experienced it. For those of you that are into the sort of big college experience, there's top-notch facilities at some of these campuses. I'm talking upscale dorms and sophisticated class facilities and multiple computer labs and things of that nature. I mean, this campus, man, College Park, it was pimped out. But at the end of the day, I would trade every single one of those perks for what I experienced at an HBCU. It was completely and totally irreplaceable.
Oh, I agree totally, Charles. Definitely. Well, I'll tell you why. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Hey, who was the English teacher at Morgan? Who was the thing when we were there?
The one that I failed twice. Hold on. I want to say Miss Taylor, but no, that was high school.
No, this was a male.
Did he have like a lisp?
Yeah.
And matter of fact, he got upset because I called it the River Thames, and it's the River Thames.
I remember him because he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, man, you got to do better. You got to do a little better, and you got to focus." Of course, being away from home, I'm thinking about everything else, but
sure.
I don't know what was going on. But he could tell. And the reason why I said that, he pulled me aside in the class. "Hey, man, you good?" He said, "You all over. You're looking at the walls or whatever. You're writing, you're scribbling. You're not." and he pulled me aside. So I'm saying, I think what Charles said, if you're in a big auditorium, nobody's going to see that.
That's correct.
And he's saying, listen, you got to do better. You got to focus, whatever. If something's going on, if you want to talk about it, fine. But if not, you got to refocus yourself and be ready for tomorrow. And I said, okay, that's cool. I never forgot that, because he didn't have to say anything. And I think just for him being able to watch is going to show you that, that he's been through that type of stuff before.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I tell you, the reason why I believe HBCU are still relevant are part of the facts that are out there. HBCUs represent less than 3% of colleges and universities in the United States, but they enroll 12% of all African American students. HBCUs produce 23% of all African American graduates. HBCUs educate 50% of African American teachers and 40% of African American health professionals. 70% of African American dentists and physicians earn degrees at HBCUs. And just from my experience in the United States Army, the first thing you do when you meet a fellow Black officer is say, "Hey, what school did you go to?" I mean, it's almost guaranteed we would do that. And part of it, not to size them up and say, "Oh, dang, you went to a PWI," but if you went to a South Carolina State, you went to a Virginia State, Norfolk State, Morgan State, Howard University,
You automatically had that connection with
exactly. We were
That's right.
fam. Now we talk a mess about their schools and say, your football team sucks. Actually, they would tell that to us, but because Bowie State has just won a couple of championships recently, so they, no one can say it didn't.
That's right. Speak on it.
Yeah, but
Matter of fact, talk slower.
okay, Bowie State won additional championships recently. Okay, we're done with that, but still. It was one of those things that we can immediately bond and say, yeah, we've had the same HBCU type of experience. So my next question, Mike, would you promote HBCUs to your family and friends?
I would promote it and give them an opportunity, but just due to the environment that they're in, their schools are primarily white, Caucasian. There's a sprinkle of Asian, Indonesian, all these different ethnicities that are going to the school, but it's primarily white. There has been no talk of HBCUs in here. I've mentioned it briefly to them, but to be honest with you, as far as their mother, their mother went to UConn. She went to a small college, Leslie College, and then she got her master's from UConn. So I would say that the biggest difference, I think, between what you guys deal with and what I deal with is that there's a lot more access and things are seen more down that area than up here for some reason. I don't know what it is. And as far as pushing it, I mention it, every now and then, whatever. But the thing about it is that they don't have any hide nor hair. So I'm looking, hopefully, this whole COVID thing, man, I'm just hoping it's over because I would love to take them for a trip to homecoming.
Sure.
I would love for them to go down to a homecoming and see, and see what it's all about because I knew there was a culture shock even for my daughter when we went to New Haven. I don't know if I tell you guys this story. We went to go see Xavier at an after-school program for dads. It was a father and son after-school program where fathers come and hang out with their kids. I mean, they brought out video games, they had basketball, they had everything. And Rosie's sitting on my daughter Rosie's sitting on the bleachers, and she's looking around, and she's looking. I'm like, did she lose something? And I was like, baby, you okay? I said, what's wrong? She said, Daddy, where's the white people?
Ah.
I said, what?
Yeah, I believe that.
What you say? And then listen, I was gonna laugh at first. I was like, what? And now I took it a step. I'm like, wow. But that's going to show you that the environment that she's in, that's what she knows. And the thing about it is, I think that her interaction, I've been pushing her to interact more with her, not only just her normal peers, but with other people. People that don't necessarily have to, that don't have to not look like you. Maybe some people that do look like you. So it's almost a reverse up here. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying. It's like, the reverse where you're automatically with, incorporated, with the same ethnicity, and then up here it's like totally different. You assimilate in, and you don't even realize it that it's happening. And I see that going on, and it's kind of, it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying. It's like they're so used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think again, I mean, that makes sense, right? You're a product of your environment. It's what you're used to seeing, right?
That's
So
right.
it's not. It may feel a little bit strange, but if you whatever grade she's in all those years, that's what she saw.
Right. But that's not what I'm used to. But the thing about it is that it's not about me anymore. It's about their foundation and what they do. But I try to trust me. I try to keep it real. Don't get me wrong. The Killer Mike is at the table. Every now and then, if I get a Killer Mike moment, I'm hitting them with it. And everybody usually try to scatter when I start talking, but I make sure I throw it in at the dinner table. There's always some moments. There's always some movement or something going on, letting them know that this whole little world you got right here is not all about you. There's the bigger world out there, and you need to get ready for it.
Back in the 80s and the early 90s, our TV, our black sitcoms, a lot of artists would wear our shirts, and it drove exposure. Because I remember being on the yard after Cosby Show wore our shirts, and the next year, the growth, it was, I would say we got maybe a good 20% of growth just based on exposure. So, no, Charles, you've already talked about your daughter promoting, promote HBCUs with your daughter. Would you promote it with other family and friends? You've got nieces. Your son, of course, is already a HBCU graduate at Dell State. But would you promote it with other family members?
Oh, no question about it. But in addition to what everyone else has already spoken about, what Mike was talking about, one of the things that my father used to place emphasis on is the fact that when job recruiters come onto a college campus, specifically an HBCU, they're looking for people that look just like us. That's why they're there. Now, when they go to the other persuasions university and we just so happen to be there, they're not necessarily looking for us in that space, so to speak. So there are there's some advantages, if you will, to attending HBCUs and doing well. There's the ability to really heighten yourself as far as the social experience, as far as lasting friendships, which of course we all have. There's a very strong alumni network that exists, and not to mention Greek life. Greek life is just off the chain at HBCUs. So for all of those reasons and more, I absolutely positively would continue to steer family, friends, acquaintances in the direction of an HBCU. No doubt about it.
Okay. And also you, Tucker, would you promote an HBCU to your family and friends?
Absolutely. So when my daughter graduated high school, she ended up going to Bowie State, although she was able to get a scholarship to Bowie State, but she also was offered a scholarship to Morgan. But I guess since I was connected to Morgan, she was having no parts of that, I guess. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea to expose yourself. I think I said earlier that even if you go for a year or two, it's still something that you're not going to see anywhere else. I said earlier that when I got on campus, it was the first time I got any exposure to the fraternity, sorority, that whole thing. And, we get there in late August kind of time frame. And right on quickly after that, we have homecoming. So we're sitting there in our Cummings Hall, right in the middle of everything.
Yes, sir.
Right in the middle of everything. And you're seeing these bricks being built. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing? And so it's like all this stuff that's going on. And then when homecoming comes, that's a family reunion on 10. Right. And so it was just bananas. And I was like, yo, it's crazy. And you see all these old heads coming from way back. It's like a big fun time. I mean, I know everybody there was broke. I mean, all the students was broke, but it was like a big ass party to me. So yeah. It's something that you can't really replicate anywhere. I mean, I know when we talk about some of these big college programs where they have 100,000 seats in their stadiums and all that stuff. Yeah, that's their football is a little bit different, but it's the social aspect of it, right? It's real social. You know how we do it. We
Not to
get together.
mention the HBCU bands, brother.
So, okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick. So the years that we were at Morgan, if I remember, for those 4 years, I think
four and a half, 5.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
you had to say all that. But anyway, in those times, I think the Morgan football team won twice. And we would go to the games for the bands. For Morgan's band was nice, but even the bands that the schools was playing against, and that was the show. Everybody was there for halftime, and they got it in. So yeah, that's another thing you got to see. You got to see up close. Drumline ain't enough. You got to see it up close.
And you bring up the visiting bands. Behold the green and gold. When Norfolk State Spartans came up to Morgan State, their band just rocked. And it's like, oh, God bless America. And, I'm so embarrassed, but damn it, I'm still Morgan pride. But damn, Norfolk State looked good. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Except with all that late night playing, remember trying to get to sleep and it's like, what? It's like 11 o'clock at night. You're like, dude, they still get the music yet? They get to his part. Like,
yeah.
Yo, man, we ain't gonna win. We ain't gonna win. We ain't
What?
It was just, but that was the funny stuff though. Be able to try to go to sleep with all that going on.
Yeah.
And everything. Everybody running around outside. The Persian rifles, the cues. Everybody doing their little pledging late night. We try to get rest and whatever. It was good stuff, but that was the stuff you got used to. That was the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I also remember C5 Do or Die. That was our go-to. I don't know if y'all remember that.
How can we forget, man? Come on now.
Yeah.
Had our own third floor fraternity in Cummings Hall.
We almost got dusted up for that one. Like, who you belong to? C5? Like, ain't no damn C5. I'm like, yes, it is.
Yo, I want to say one thing real quick, and that is Charles brought up the things about the facilities, how at the major campuses they got all the state of the art stuff. We was right next to a busted ass gym, and that's what we had to play basketball, and that's where the pool was, and that's where all the other stuff was, and we wasn't even allowed to go all the way down to the field house. So they run us out of there. But I'm just saying that our facilities were subpar. They definitely were. And I think it took till our senior year for them to get finished with it.
Well, no. Her gym was not finished until Key went back to school in 2004. Her gym was right next to Cummings Hall, and that's where the pool was.
I know.
It took them a good 16 years to fix that.
Well, there were parts that were better than when we first got there. How about that? They was improving it. But yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. Well, no question about it. I would promote HBCUs to my family and friends. I'm a second generation Morganite, and I have a niece that is attending right now. So she's a third generation, or she will be a third generation Morganite once she completes her studies. I just think it's important that we give our kids an opportunity, like Charles said, to be exposed. It does not mean that you have to stay there, but just the exposure and just the camaraderie. I mean, you look at, I've got other relatives that have attended an HBCU and then went on to a PWI because their major wasn't available at the HBCU, but at least they got their grounds. So on that, Mike, and since you bring up C5, give us real quick one of your fondest memories at your HBCU.
I think the camaraderie, man. I think I missed the most was when we used to, besides the fights, that's not important, Charles and Wayne. I think, remember the nights we used to be in the hall, both sides of the hall, everybody sitting down, and we just talking about nothing, but everybody having their own little conversations, whatever. And then I think there was one particular night that our boy Foots fell asleep, and we wrapped him in toilet paper.
I got a picture of that.
Yo, that was good stuff. I mean, not so much wrapping them in toilet paper, but we used to look forward to those nights where we didn't have nothing, but we had each other, and we just sit in the hallway, listen to music. I mean, it was crazy because you had somebody down the hall listening to go-go, but somebody 2 doors down had their little rap music on, but we were still able to get along and converse with each other. And I think that's where a lot of us built camaraderie. we complained about school. We got some stuff off our chest about family to different people, but it wasn't like a long drawn out thing. What's going on? My mother bugging. But we changed the conversation to something else or whatever. But I think there's a lot of relationships were built in that hallway. Along with a couple other things.
Sure.
Hey man, you're gonna learn somebody when you gotta eat oodles and noodles together.
What? You only got one, and you only got one fork.
Wow. Charles, what are your fondest memories at Morgan State or even Bowie State?
Man, let me tell you, Mike really took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, those quality, just conversations. And yeah, we attended a lot of parties. There was a lot of activity. We even played football on the weekends and stuff like that.
In the snow.
Yes, in the snow, we played poker. I mean, we we had pranks on each other and all that type stuff. But when I think back at the dynamic that we established, especially the four of us on that campus, and how we became lifelong friends in the course of 2 semesters, to me is still amazing. I mean, we've been together in each other's weddings, supported each other through divorce. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And you're talking about over a period of 30 plus years. And I just, to me, that means the world to me. It really does. And I know, Stefan, you weren't necessarily a part of this, but with Mike and Wayne in particular, well, actually you were, because we had some weekend getaways where we were able to go up to Connecticut and crash at Mike's house on the floor. We went up to Wayne's house and did the same thing. They came down to the DC area. I exposed them to go and took them over to the Exorcist house, and we ate up mom's food and all that type stuff. I mean, the bond that we built in that 1 year, to me, it's priceless, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
It
absolutely.
really is.
Yeah, I think Steph too. To Steph's point. Well, even with him being away, there was still that yearning, like, what's up with Steph? What is he doing? How's he doing? Or whatever. And I think you were always at the front of our minds that when we were together, we laugh and talk, whatever. But then we always think like, what the hell is Steph doing right now? Charles would say something crazy like, yo, what's Steph doing right now? I'm like, I don't know. We try to figure it out. So the good part was, I think when you weren't there, Steph, and that's the good thing, is that, somebody always brought your name up. You know what I mean? So we were always thinking about you, whatever the case may be. And whether we had enough money to call you or stay on the line longer than 3 minutes, looking at the clock, like, all right, Steph, go. We said we had our conversation. We had to hang up like, yo, that was $75 right there, Steph, for 3 minutes.
Yeah. And
But
now
I think it was good stuff.
yeah, and now you can call across the world
No,
for free.
but it was good. Yeah.
Wow. So Wayne, what are your fondest memories?
I think there's a lot of things that both Mike and Charles brought up. One thing is Charles brought us to our first me and Mike to our first go-go PG Community College. It's bananas.
Right.
How did that?
It was bananas, right? But that's my first experience with go-go. Like I said, all those other things I'd never heard of before. I never heard of go-go before I got down there. So
Hey,
yeah, it was.
I don't know what wind me up, Chuck, man.
It was all new. If you lived
I
in a
was like,
glass
yo,
house,
wind me up, Chuck.
don't throw no stones.
Don't throw no stones.
Oh, I said, okay.
But no, if I go back to campus though, I really, there was a lot of silliness that was going on, and we used to have water fight. We destroyed that place. It was crazy. We had water fights. We used to like they're saying like pranks, and spraying the floor with the fire extinguisher and squirting oil on the floor. It was just like stupid, like just leaning garbage cans with water.
I want to know where Braxton is right now. Hey, where's Braxton, the RA? He doing all of us by
wait,
No, Mike.
Wait.
I mean, Wayne, you got to finish that story, man.
Wait. So leaning garbage cans with water on it on somebody's door and knocking on it and letting that garbage fall in on them. Wet garbage.
I I don't know what you're talking about, man. I
You
don't know
know,
what you're talking about.
that was hilarious. But that stuff's fun, and you can't
Yeah.
you can't not
Ooh.
you can't you remember that stuff forever. And the other thing I was gonna say, Mike made that comment about wrapping the dude up in a toilet paper because he fell asleep. Yeah, our dumbasses didn't realize this dude had narcolepsy, and we
I
just
know.
clowning him.
Yo,
Dumbasses. So,
Dead wrong. Dead
Yo.
we ain't know what the hell he's doing.
I
But
think
I'm
somebody
just
took a picture.
I
Somebody
got a
took a
picture.
picture.
I got a picture of that.
Oh, okay.
I got a picture. But
You
yeah,
got a
it's
picture of
crazy,
foot?
man.
You got
I
a picture
got
of
him.
foot?
I got him with the toilet paper. But yeah, man, it's definitely a lot of memorable things. I mean, I'm coming to tears right now trying to stop from laughing about some of this dumb stuff we were doing. But yeah, you can't. Those are the memories you can't never forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My fondest memories, of course, the stupid stuff we did in the hallway. Now I was on the second floor. I would come upstairs to engage in stupid stuff. But I still remember that football game. We decided to go out. It was about 6 inches of snow, and we decided to play football.
Yeah.
Man, I was so cold, but having so much fun at the same time. And this was straight tackle football. There was no two-hand touch.
Oh no, no, no,
I
no,
mean,
not back then, bro. No.
brothers were crushing each other. And somehow nobody got hurt. Probably because we were cold.
Because nobody was trying to hurt nobody, but we was hitting each other. We was, we was
No, I think Steph's right. I think everybody was numb. couldn't feel the broken bones.
Yeah. But, and this segues into my next question. Why should black athletes attend an HBCU? As an example, Steve McNair, Alcorn State, Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley State, Doug Williams, Grambling, they were found, they were successful, they were Hall of Famers, except I'm not sure if Steve McNair was, but I mean, he had a Hall of Fame type career. You even have current players that are opting out of going to a PWI and going to Morgan State University, going to Howard, and making it known why. A lot of it deals with the Black Matters movement. Kids are seeing that, hey, I'm not valued. I'm just a statistic at LSU. Yes, I can play football, and yes, they have top of the line facilities. But if I attended South Carolina State University and successful and still seen, I still can get a top tier contract. So what do you think about black athletes attending HBCUs that trend back when it was the only place they could attend, Mike?
Well, I think their abilities spoke for themselves.
Right.
They weren't getting lost because their abilities were so acknowledged at these schools, not only with the students' body, but with the football players and with everybody. I don't think those people who stood out like that really had a problem. The Jerry Rices, Steve McNairs, they didn't have a problem because you just knew with the swagger, the way they walked, the way they did things, they were going somewhere. You knew that. I mean, prime example of what you were talking about, my man, 50 Grand, Little Dave. Little Dave was at Morgan for a minute and he bounced up the house.
Dave Meggett.
Remember Dave Meggett?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Remember? I was mad as hell that time. Because I was like, yeah, and then he bounced. I'm like, really? But he did that for a reason. The exposure, and back then I guess it was hard for maybe just for him, I don't know. But I think there was a reason why he did it. And maybe, I don't know if like I said, what it could have been, but to me, I thought that he might have wanted to go to a bigger school, and maybe that's what it was. I don't know if we even researched that, found out why he went to Townsend State, but I didn't like Townsend after that. I couldn't stand the name. When somebody mentioned Townsend, I was like mad as hell because Dave Meggett left.
But the reality is he made it to the league, right? So that seems to be a smart move then, because that's what he's trying to get to.
You're right. No, I got you.
And he followed Parcells around. Wherever Parcells was, that's where Dave Meggett went.
Yeah. And that's another thing why I love
smart.
Parcells, you know what I mean? What? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I'm sorry, Charles, what do you think about black athletes reversing and now attending HBCUs?
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think the trend should continue. I mean, think about it. Teams like Alabama, for example, big time college program, they might have 100 football players on that team easily. Okay. And some of them are highly talented, but they're sitting on the bench. Yeah. So if they have the opportunity to showcase their skills more so at a HBCU, then why not? We're also in the information age. We're in the age and time where there are YouTube videos. There's all this exposure over the internet. So if you are a highly skilled individual, you will get found out. I mean, I knew about Zion when he was in high school in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Okay, so if I can know about him, then certainly I can know about someone attending an HBCU. So yeah, I think the opportunity is big. I suggest that folks take full advantage of it. But and also the other thing that we have to keep in mind that less than, I believe the last stat I saw was less than 2% of college athletes even make it to the pros overall.
Correct.
Sounds right. Sounds right.
Yeah. So, with the numbers being so low, you might as well go somewhere where you can maximize your exposure.
Sure.
And if you're able to start at an Alabama or something like that, then absolutely go for it, because you're going to be on national television every single week. But if you're like second or third string, then you absolutely should consider some of these other programs where you can showcase your talents.
So what do you think about it, Tucker, as our time is starting to wind down?
Yeah, I'll be quick about it. When you was naming off all those people who went to HBCUs and made it to the league, I ain't hear you say Marvin Webster.
No question about it.
Morgan
Webster.
State made it to the Knicks.
Leroy Kelly. Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. But seriously, I think that, as Charles mentioned about the information, the information age is real important, because if Zion would have went to Bowie State, guess what? The media was following.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter if you're McDonald's first team McDonald's All-Star, it's a done. It's a done deal, right? So it's a matter of you're that good. You could go to community college, they following you. ESPN will be there. ESPN will be there. So I'm just saying, I think it would be great for them to do that. I think the HBCUs could use, HBCUs can use the exposure, the revenue, all that good stuff, and it would just help a lot of them. So I think it's a great thing. I know there's a trend going that way. I think basketball, it makes a lot more sense. I think football's a little bit harder because you can't really control a whole team being, that one player, but still, I think it's a great opportunity.
Okay, well, look, hey, we're going to wrap up our HBCU portion, and we're going to do something that we haven't done in a while, which is called Drop the Mic. But first, I'd like to thank the gentlemen on the panel for this discussion on HBCUs, because it was very enlightening. So with that being said, and go ahead, Wayne. You wanted to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. What we're going to do is drop the mic. This is a section where we allow the guys just to get something off their chest. And we're going to go in reverse order, because no one can follow Mike after drop a mic. Although Charles has come out with a strong one too. But we'll go with Wayne at this time. Wayne, drop the mic.
I'll be real quick. As I've been talking about this whole time, let's just make sure we get out there and vote and do what we need to do for this country. We got today is September the 17th, and the election is quickly approaching. So make sure you got your paperwork together. Get out there, make it happen. Mic drop.
Appreciate that, Wayne. Charles, drop the mic.
My mic drop is, am I wrong for this? I have a daughter, God bless her soul. Okay. She is 17 years old. She has, even in this COVID-19 environment, she has 2 jobs while she's going to school.
Hustling.
Okay? She's hustling. She's doing the daggone thing. So she has 2 jobs. She has over $4,000 in her savings account. Okay. She approaches me the other day and asked me to pay for her hairdo. 2 days later, she asked me to put gas in the car that we bought for her. What am I missing? Help me understand.
She's a very intelligent young lady.
She already knows how to use other people's money.
There you go. And that's a book. Using other people's money. You know that's a book.
So I'll leave it right there. Mic drop. If anyone has any suggestions on how to handle this situation, hit me up.
We're gonna lift you in prayer, and let's all join hands for Charles, because yeah, she working you,
It's only the beginning, Charles. I'm starting to feel it as it is right now, so
and
I get it.
and that's his only daughter too. You know, out of what,
Me
4
too.
boys? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she working. All right. Well, look, before I turn this over to Mike, because it's probably going to be another epic mic drop.
I hope so.
My mic drop is easy. It's starting to get cold. It's the end of sundress and open-toe sandal season.
Steph,
Yeah,
there only been so many couches in your house.
yeah, I know, but I still sleep in my main bed. But still, it's a shame that we had a COVID shortened sundress and open toe sandal season. Drop the mic. Mike, take us home.
Well, Steph, I wish I had something that was extraordinary, but due to the fact that my daughter's upset with me, my mind frame is a little off. I took her phone today because she was being fresh, and I heard some fresh stuff on it, and I didn't like it. And she asked me, why did I do it? Would you like it if I took your phone? And I said, what? I don't know. I just felt my neck turning slowly but surely from the front seat to the back seat. And I said, you know what? If your Uncle Charles could hear what the hell you just said to this right now, he'd be highly upset. And I'm gonna call him when I get home, and I'm gonna tell him too. And you know how he is about you. And when he find out, when she started crying, I had to stop. So now I feel bad. So I just want to say that my drop the mic, I blew it. I blew it tonight. I think I took it too far when I threw Charles' name. When I threw Charles' name up in there, that I'm gonna tell Uncle Charles that you was being fresh with your phone, and it's that because she loved. And listen, she looked highly to Charles. When Charles talked to her, whatever, she changed her whole demeanor. So I'll have to say that my drop the mic is no win. To say win. Mic drop.
Oh my! But hey, sometimes you got to pull out other techniques to address a situation. So
Yes.
yeah, so Charles gonna be on the phone after this podcast.
Oh,
I will.
yeah,
I will. I'm
well,
calling right now.
Trust me. She'll give you. No, she don't have her phone. I mean, yeah, we don't talk about. Is this thing still on?
Yeah, it is still on.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about that later, child.
Got it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our time today. If you'd like to follow our journey or our podcast, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any of your podcast services, specifically Apple. Under in our name, of course, is Just Being Man 2020. Leave us a comment, suggestion, or request a future topic. We sign off with peace, understanding, and blessing for an outstanding rest of your day. Goodbye.
Deuces.